I blackmailed my stepsister with her college cheating secret after she tried to kick me out for her deadbeat boyfriend. I never thought I'd be the type to seek revenge, but my stepsister pushed me too far. Now I'm wondering if I went overboard or if she got what she deserved. I'm Alex, 28M, and about 8 months ago, I moved in with my stepsister, Emma, 32F. I had just landed a new job as a marketing manager at a tech startup in her city, and she offered to let me stay with her while I got settled. At first, everything seemed great. Emma lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a trendy part of town, and I was grateful for the chance to save money on rent while I adjusted to my new role. A bit of backstory: Emma and I became step-siblings when I was 15 and she was 19. Our parents, both divorced, met at a community theater production. Dad was working on set design, and Emma's mom was the lead actress. They hit it off immediately, and after a whirlwind 6-month romance, they decided to get married. Suddenly, I had an older stepsister. The transition wasn't easy for any of us. I was a shy, bookish teenager who spent most of my time playing video games and reading sci-fi novels. Emma was outgoing and popular, always surrounded by friends and involved in school activities. We were like oil and water at first. I remember the day they moved in. Emma stomped into what used to be my game room, now her bedroom, and declared that she hated the wallpaper. I felt like my whole world was being invaded. But over time, things got better. Emma helped me come out of my shell a bit, even convincing me to join the school's debate club. In return, I tutored her in math when she struggled with her college courses. After high school, I went off to college to study business, and Emma started working as a personal trainer. We didn't see each other much for years, apart from holidays and the occasional family gathering. I threw myself into my studies and internships, climbing the corporate ladder as quickly as I could. Emma bounced between jobs, always seeking the next exciting opportunity but never quite finding her place. When I got the job offer in Emma's city, it seemed like perfect timing. I was ready for a change, and the idea of reconnecting with my stepsister appealed to me. We'd drifted apart over the years, but I had fond memories of the times we'd bonded as teenagers. I moved in on a sunny Saturday in April. Emma helped me carry my boxes up to the second bedroom, which was small but cozy. We spent that evening catching up over pizza and beer, laughing about old times and sharing stories about our lives. It felt good, like we were finally becoming the siblings we were meant to be. I offered to pay a fair share of rent and utilities, which Emma accepted gratefully. She confessed that she'd been struggling a bit financially, as her work as a personal trainer had been hit hard by the pandemic. I was happy to help out, and it made me feel good to be able to support her. For the first few months, things were great. We'd have dinner together sometimes, binge-watch TV shows on weekends, and generally coexisted peacefully. I was busy with my new job, often working late to impress my bosses, but I always made time to check in with Emma. But then things started to change. Emma began inviting her boyfriend, Jake, 34M, over more often. At first, I didn't mind, it was her apartment, after all. Jake seemed nice enough, always cracking jokes and offering to include me in their plans. But as the weeks went by, his presence became more and more constant. Jake practically moved in without any discussion. He'd be there when I woke up, when I came home from work, always hogging the bathroom and eating food I'd bought. The apartment felt cramped with 3 adults living in a space meant for 2. I tried to talk to Emma about it, but she brushed off my concerns. She said Jake was going through a tough time and needed support. I later found out he'd lost his job at a local gym due to budget cuts and was basically mooching off Emma while he looked for work. The situation reminded me of Emma's college boyfriend, a guy named Tyler who had also lost his job and ended up living on Emma's couch for months. I remembered how stressed and unhappy Emma had been then, and I worried history was repeating itself. Things came to a head last month. I'd had a particularly grueling day at work, dealing with a difficult client and a looming deadline. All I wanted was to come home, pour myself a glass of the expensive whiskey my boss had given me as a thank you for landing a big account, and relax. Instead, I walked in to find Jake sprawled on the couch, playing video games and drinking my whiskey. Empty beer cans and pizza boxes littered the coffee table. The place was a mess, and the whiskey bottle was nearly empty. I lost it. I demanded to know who had given him permission to drink my whiskey. Jake just laughed and told me to lighten up, saying Emma had said it was fine. I didn't believe him for a second. I went to Emma's room, expecting her to back me up, but instead, she sided with Jake. She told me I was being selfish and that I needed to be more understanding of Jake's situation. She said I was acting like a spoiled brat and that I needed to learn to share. I was furious but managed to keep my cool. I reminded her that I was paying rent and deserved to have my space and belongings respected. I told her we needed to have a serious talk about living arrangements. The next day, I sat down with Emma and calmly explained my issues. I reminded her of how unhappy she'd been when Tyler had taken advantage of her kindness in college, and I expressed my concern that Jake was doing the same thing. To my shock, Emma told me that she wanted me to move out. She said that Jake was going through a hard time and needed a place to stay, so I had to go. She argued that I could afford my own place with my fancy job, while Jake had nowhere else to go. I was stunned. I'd been nothing but respectful and considerate, and now I was being kicked out with barely any notice. When I pointed out that I had a lease agreement, Emma smugly informed me that she'd never actually filed it with the landlord, it was just a verbal agreement between us. That's when something in me snapped. I'd always prided myself on being level-headed, but the unfairness of it all got to me. I remembered something from years ago, when Emma was in college. She'd confided in me about a scheme she and her roommates had to cheat their way through a difficult biology class. They'd hacked into the professor's email and stolen exam questions. I'd kept that secret for years, even though I didn't approve. I remembered how guilty Emma had felt afterward, how she'd sworn she'd never do anything like that again. But now, seeing Emma's smug face as she kicked me out, I decided to use that information. I told her that if she forced me out, I'd go to her old university and report what she'd done. Even though it was years ago, academic dishonesty that severe could result in her degree being revoked. I knew how hard Emma had worked to finally finish her degree, how proud our parents had been when she graduated. The thought of losing that accomplishment terrified her. Emma's face went pale. She accused me of blackmail, but I told her it was just consequences for her actions, both past and present. I gave her a choice: let me stay until I found a new place, with Jake moving out, or deal with the fallout of her college cheating coming to light. She reluctantly agreed to let me stay, but now the atmosphere in the apartment is beyond tense. Jake is gone, but Emma barely speaks to me. When we do interact, it's cold and formal, nothing like the warm relationship we'd been rebuilding. Part of me feels guilty for resorting to such tactics. I remember how Emma stood up for me when I was bullied in high school, how she helped me get ready for my first date, how she cheered the loudest at my college graduation. We've had our ups and downs, but she's still my sister. But another part of me feels like she deserved it for trying to throw me out on the street. I've worked hard to get where I am, and I don't think it's fair that I should have to upend my life because her boyfriend can't get his act together. So, Reddit, did I go too far? Or was I justified in using the information I had to protect myself from being unfairly evicted? I'm torn between feeling like I stood up for myself and feeling like I betrayed a family member. What should I do now? Update 1. It's been about a month since my original post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their input. It really helped me gain perspective on the situation. After reading through the comments, I realized that while many of you thought I was justified in standing up for myself, some felt I'd gone too far with the blackmail. I took some time to reflect on my actions and decided to have an honest conversation with Emma. I approached Emma one evening after work and asked if we could talk. To my surprise, she agreed. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same place where we used to do our homework together as teenagers. The familiarity of the setting made what came next a little easier. I started by apologizing for resorting to blackmail. I explained that I felt cornered and betrayed, but I acknowledged that my reaction wasn't the best way to handle things. I told her how much our relationship meant to me and how hurt I was by her attempt to kick me out. Emma was quiet for a while, then she shocked me by apologizing too. She admitted that she'd been unfair in trying to kick me out and that she'd let her relationship with Jake cloud her judgment. It turns out that Jake had been pressuring her to let him move in rent-free, and she'd been too afraid of losing him to stand up to him. As we talked, memories from our past started to surface. Emma reminded me of the time I'd covered for her when she missed curfew in high school, and how she'd helped me prepare for my first job interview. We'd been there for each other in so many ways over the years, and somehow we'd lost sight of that. We had a long, honest conversation about our relationship as step-siblings and how we'd drifted apart over the years. Emma confessed that she'd always felt a bit jealous of me. She thought our parents favored me because I was younger and more successful in my career. I was surprised by this because I'd always looked up to Emma and thought she had her life together. I shared how I'd often felt intimidated by her confidence and social ease, how I'd envied her ability to make friends so easily. We realized how many misunderstandings and assumptions had built up between us over the years. As we talked, Emma opened up about her relationship with Jake. She admitted that she'd been feeling stuck and unfulfilled in her career, and Jake had seemed exciting and full of potential when they first met. But as time went on, she realized he was more interested in living off her than building a life together. I shared my own experiences with relationships, including a particularly painful breakup I'd gone through right before moving to the city. We found ourselves laughing and crying as we shared stories we'd never told each other before. By the end of our conversation, we both agreed that we wanted to try and repair our relationship, but we also acknowledged that living together probably wasn't the best idea anymore. We'd fallen into old patterns of behavior, and we needed space to grow as individuals. Emma suggested that we look for a new living arrangement that would work for both of us. She offered to help me find a new apartment and even to cover my first month's rent as a way of making amends for trying to kick me out unfairly. I was touched by her offer, but I felt it was important for us both to stand on our own feet. Instead, I suggested that we both look for new places. Emma agreed, and we decided to give ourselves 3 months to find new apartments. In the meantime, we set some ground rules for the apartment. Jake isn't allowed to stay over more than 2 nights a week, and we've established clearer boundaries about shared spaces and each other's belongings. We also decided to have a weekly sibling dinner where we could check in with each other and continue working on our relationship. The atmosphere in the apartment has improved significantly. We're not best friends overnight, but we're communicating better and making an effort to rebuild our relationship as step-siblings. Last weekend, we even went to a local farmer's market together, something we used to do with our parents when we were younger. I also want to address the college cheating issue. Many of you pointed out that holding this over Emma's head indefinitely wasn't fair. After our talk, I promised Emma that I would never bring up the cheating incident again or use it against her. She thanked me and said she'd always felt guilty about it. We talked about the pressure she'd felt in college and how that had led to her bad decision. It was a healing conversation for both of us. As for my job, things are going well. I've been putting in extra hours and saving up for the move. I'm hoping to find a place closer to my office, which will make the commute easier. Emma has been supportive of my career, even offering to proofread some important presentations I've been working on. I know we still have a long way to go, but I feel like this whole experience has been a wake-up call for both Emma and me. We're both committed to working on our relationship and moving forward in a more positive way. I'll keep you updated on how the apartment hunt goes and how things continue to develop with Emma. Thanks again for all your advice and support. Update 2. It's been another 2 months since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have progressed. The apartment hunt has been successful. Both Emma and I have found new places to live. I'm moving into a small but nice one-bedroom apartment closer to my office next week. It's in an older building with lots of character, including some beautiful hardwood floors that remind me of our childhood home. Emma found a place she likes too, a cozy studio in an artsy neighborhood. She's moving in with a friend from work rather than Jake, which I think is a positive step for her. As we've been preparing to move out, Emma and I have continued to work on our relationship. We've had more open conversations about our past and our family dynamics. I learned that Emma struggled a lot when our parents first got married. She felt like she was losing her mom to a new family. She told me about how she used to cry herself to sleep some nights, feeling like an outsider in her own home. I shared how I often felt intimidated by her because she seemed so much more confident and put together than me. I told her about the time I overheard some of her friends making fun of my acne and how much it had hurt, even though I knew Emma hadn't been involved. These conversations have been challenging but rewarding. We're both realizing how much we misunderstood each other over the years. One particularly meaningful moment happened last week. Emma came to me and said she'd been doing a lot of thinking about the college cheating incident. She decided to contact her old university and confess what she'd done. She said she wanted to take responsibility for her past actions and make things right. I was really proud of her for making that decision. I went with her for moral support when she met with the university officials. It was a tough meeting, but Emma was honest about what she'd done. The university is still deciding how to handle the situation, but Emma feels relieved to have it off her chest. As for Jake, Emma finally ended things with him. She realized that he was taking advantage of her kindness and that their relationship wasn't healthy. It wasn't an easy decision for her, but I think it's for the best. She told me that our conversations had helped her see patterns in her relationships that she wanted to change. Our parents have noticed the change in our relationship. They're happy to see us getting along better and have even suggested we all get together for a family dinner once we're settled in our new places. Mom called me the other day to say how proud she was of both of us for working through our issues. I'm feeling optimistic about the future. While the circumstances that led to this point were difficult, I think Emma and I have both grown from the experience. We're planning to have regular sibling dinners to stay connected once we're no longer living together. As we pack up the apartment, there's a sense of closing one chapter and starting a new one. I found an old photo album from our high school days, and Emma and I spent an evening laughing over embarrassing pictures and reminiscing about old times. It felt good to be able to look back on those memories with fondness rather than resentment. I'll post one more update after we've both moved and settled into our new places. Thanks again for all your support throughout this journey. Update 3. It's been about 6 weeks since my last update, and I wanted to share how things have settled now that Emma and I have moved into our new places. The moves went smoothly for both of us. My new apartment is great, it's closer to work, and I'm enjoying having my own space again. I've started decorating it with some artwork Emma helped me pick out. There's a small balcony where I've set up a couple of plants, something I've always wanted to do but never had the space for before. Emma seems happy in her new place too. She's been sending me pictures of how she's decorating it, and it looks really nice. She's taken up painting again, a hobby she'd abandoned years ago, and her artwork is brightening up her walls. We've kept our promise to have regular sibling dinners. We've met up twice so far, once at my place and once at hers. It's been nice to spend time together without the tension that used to exist when we were living together. We're finding that we actually have a lot in common now that we're taking the time to get to know each other as adults. Last week, we discovered we both love the same obscure sci-fi author and spent hours discussing our favorite books. Emma got news from her old university about the cheating incident. Because it happened so long ago and she came forward voluntarily, they decided not to revoke her degree. However, they are requiring her to do 100 hours of community service and to speak to current students about academic integrity. Emma's taking it in stride and says she feels like it's a fair consequence. She's already started her community service, volunteering at a local animal shelter. She's even talking about maybe adopting a cat. Our parents came to visit last weekend. We all had dinner together at a new restaurant in town, and it was probably the most relaxed family gathering we've had in years. Both Emma and I have been more open with our parents about our past feelings and misunderstandings, which has led to some good conversations about our family dynamics. Dad even got a bit emotional, telling us how happy he was to see us getting along so well. As for me, things at work are going well. I've been given some new responsibilities, including leading a team on a big project. It's challenging, but I'm enjoying it. The shorter commute from my new place means I have more time in the evenings, which has been great. I've also started taking a cooking class in the evenings, something I've always wanted to do but never had time for before. Emma's been my unofficial taste tester, coming over to try out my new recipes. Last week's attempt at homemade pasta was a bit of a disaster, but we ended up laughing so hard about it that we didn't even mind ordering takeout instead. Emma and I are planning a weekend trip together next month, just a short camping trip to a nearby state park. It's something we've never done before, but we both felt like it would be a good way to bond and create some new memories together. We've been texting each other camping tips and jokes about who's going to be in charge of the campfire. Looking back on everything that's happened over the past few months, I'm amazed at how much has changed. What started as a really difficult and tense situation has turned into an opportunity for growth and improved relationships. I'm grateful for how things have turned out, even if the path to get here was rocky. There are still moments of awkwardness or old habits that creep in, but we're both committed to working through them. We're learning to communicate better, to express our feelings more openly, and to support each other in ways we never did before. I want to thank everyone who offered advice and support throughout this journey. Your input really helped me navigate a tough situation and come out the other side with a stronger relationship with my stepsister. I don't think I'll need to post any more updates, but I'm leaving this journey feeling positive about the future and grateful for the lessons learned along the way. Emma and I have talked about maybe starting a blog together, sharing our experience of rebuilding our sibling relationship as adults. We think it might help other people who are struggling with similar family issues. It's just an idea for now, but who knows? Maybe you'll hear from us again someday, sharing more positive updates about our journey as siblings. For now, though, I'm just enjoying this new chapter in my life and my relationship with Emma. It's not perfect, but it's real and it's ours, and I wouldn't have it any other way.